Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. This is your Akazaki Yahoo, and I start this broadcast as I would start any broadcast by first of all giving all praise, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah, Bahashem, Yahushua HaMashiach, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say Shalom wa Baruch, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day that the Most High brings us back together, and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I'm joined this afternoon by my most esteemed Akinanaya. Shabbat Shalom, Aki.
Shabbat Shalom, Maki. Shabbat Shalom, Yasharal. All praises to the Most High for all that He's done, all that He's doing, and all that He will do. Hallelujah.
All praises to the Father. Yes, indeed, all praises to the Father. He is absolutely magnificent and wonderful in all of his doings, and so thankful for the Abba. Uh, Well, we are going to get into a video this morning or this afternoon, and this particular video highlights a situation that happened in Uganda. We have a lot of people in Uganda, Israelites, who have been scattered into that land, and there's a lot of ailments that plague that area, and I'll let the video explain for itself. Uh, and you'll see why we're getting into this particular video. Here we go.
I think some of the most wild accusations that were made about me is that I killed 800 children. I was medically experimenting on children compared to Adolf Hitler, soon to be part of the KKK.
This is a classic case of white savior complex, one that shook the people of Uganda. Renee Bach, a United States citizen, opened up the health center in Uganda. She was then accused of causing the deaths of 119 African children. Between
119 children died during the time of this woman was there doing what she was doing. As far as the expectation was that she was providing medical help, and in fact, there was a completely different situation going on. But let's continue here.
Between 2010 and 2015, Renee claims she took 940 severely malnourished children, and 105 of them passed away. She had no medical training or license for her facility, and she was treating children who were almost on their deathbed. What she did was reckless, unethical, and self-centered. And now she's getting a documentary series. Instead of getting arrested, this is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, so she was dealing with these children, these ill children, and with no medical training, with no history of medical know-how, nothing. This is a completely crazy story where if you did this, if we did this, we would be probably executed.
Mm-hmm.
But this lady instead gets a documentary about her. Unreal. Continue.
It's outrageous, huh?
Indeed, Aki. Outrageous is an absolute uh, right explanation for it, or right what explains it indeed.
Children, SHC, a Christian nonprofit organization that Renee founded.
In these now deleted images, she's seen wearing a stethoscope, administering care to children. The plaintiffs say they only learned after their children died. Bach had no proper medical training.
Ginger.
Yeah, the clinic I work at, I do check-ins, check-outs, and schedule appointments at the clinic that I work at. Guess what I don't do? I don't wear a stethoscope. I don't walk around with a stethoscope around my neck. Guess who do wear stethoscopes? People who got training in medical ability. My medical assistants, they wear stethoscopes. The nurse practitioners, the doctors, they wear stethoscopes. Hazaki Yahoo don't wear a stethoscope. You'll never see me with a stethoscope around my neck because I'm not listening for anything that's going on in your body because I'm not a medical professional. The medical professionals do that. When you see somebody with that instrument, that tells you that this person is dealing exclusively with medical know-how. You understand? So just wanted to point that out. Continue.
Uganda. In 2007, when Bach was just a teenager, she came here on an evangelical missionary trip. She started working at an orphanage run by other missionaries and stayed for 9 months. When she went back home, she felt like there was something that she was supposed to do. So, she raised the funds through local church circles in Bedford and traveled back to Jinja. This time, she had enough money to start her own charity organization, the SHC. She decided to document her experience on her blog. In Jinja, she is known as Aunt Renee. Renee is a U.S. citizen with no medical training. She has a CPR certificate and a
CPR certificate. Somebody who's gone through the CPR class and knows how to administer CPR. That's something everybody should know. I mean, that's something that should be taught in high school. Truthfully, you should learn that in high school. But continue.
High school diploma, which she got after she was homeschooled. The first time she went to Uganda, she was 18. She founded the SHC when she was 19. In 2011, she hired a couple of nurses from Uganda. She equipped her so-called clinic with IV catheters, oxygen tanks, and monitoring equipment. But one of the nurses said that Bach did most of the medical care herself. She was taking unnecessary risks, even though she didn't have the skills to treat these children. Now, her blog has been removed since news outlets got the hang of her story, but I managed to find some of what she wrote. Well,
so she had sense enough to delete the evidence of what she was documenting. So when she was blogging, she was documenting her daily exploits, and then she deletes it. Why would you delete something if you don't have anything to hide?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. So obviously, if I'm writing something and it's nothing bad, why would I then try to burn it or delete it or get rid of it? You know what I'm saying? It's because I got something to hide. Continue.
while she was working at the clinic, she treated a 9-month-old baby. She said, and I quote, "I hooked the baby up to oxygen and got to work. As I took her temperature, started an IV, checked her blood sugar, tested for malaria, and looked at her HB count. This is not something you do if you have no medical training. Without the correct technique, it is easy to hurt the baby. Putting the IV in incorrectly can lead to complications like fluid overload, nerve damage, infections, and brain injury. This is serious stuff, especially for a baby." But there is more. She also tried to diagnose the baby. She wrote, "Got it. Malaria. Positive. HB 3.2. Both are a big problem, and together they create an even bigger, most likely fatal, problem for such a small child. She needed a blood transfusion, and fast. After doing a search for blood around Jinja Town, we found her type, and it was a match. We started the transfusion." Hold on a minute. Who is this we? Why are you starting a blood transfusion on a 9-month-old baby when you have no idea what you were doing? Who is controlling this? Why is this even allowed?
They say the mothers allege they were led to believe that Miss Renee Bach was a medical doctor and that her home was a medical facility.
Just look at what she has to say about it.
So, first off, I have never represented myself as a medical professional or health worker of any type. The organization Serving His Children hires medical professionals that are Ugandan, local and national folks. And I have assisted our medical team in emergency settings and in crisis situations, but I have never practiced medicine.
Let's take a step back now for a moment and analyze her story. Now, before Bach went to Uganda, she wanted to have a normal life, get married, and have kids. But shortly after she got her high school diploma, members of her church told her about an orphanage in Jinja, Uganda, that needed volunteers. Jinja, a town of 80,000 on the northern shore of Lake Victoria, was a lively place where people were selling fruits and veggies and walking down dirt roads. Motorcycles and crowded minibuses were decorated with images of Bob Marley and Rambo. When Bach arrived there for the first time, she became a part of a prominent missionary community. She said it felt almost serene. She quickly immersed herself in a different culture and became obsessed with her work. It was something she loved to do. After returning to her parents' home about 9 months later, everything changed. Bach had no idea what to do with herself. She said she was trying to figure out which school to attend and what career path to pursue. Then, she had what she described as an almost supernatural experience. Kind of like an epiphany. It became evident to her, as if God was telling her that she was destined to go back to Uganda. She was meant to become a missionary. Even though she had no medical training or experience in the field, she decided to fund a medical nonprofit organization for children. That's when Bach started a feeding program. She used the money she raised through her church to feed children in Masese. Masese is a neighborhood near Jinja. In one of her blogs, she described the place as slum-like, but lively. She said there were many people from displaced camps, people from a lot of different clans and tribes. It was hard for Bach to find a suitable location, a place she could rent. She said that Masese was on a side of a hill, and people were living in mud houses. Whenever it started to rain, flooding and lack of food would make their lives difficult. With the help of her friend, she managed to secure a large concrete house for rent from a government official who was away in Entebbe. This is where she started to experiment. Bach then began providing free lunches on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She hired a small team to help with the food and other activities, like Bible Club and Craft Day. By the end of the year, she was feeding around 1,000 children every week. The people who came to Bach for help were people who couldn't afford to go to a doctor. Their children were sick and malnourished. That's because in Uganda's public hospitals, patients often have to cover not just the cost of medicine, but also basic items like syringes and rubber gloves.
Half the country's population cannot afford medical care, while 51% of Ugandans go to public health facilities to access free or cheaper medical care. The study, however, reports that patients are disappointed by the services in government hospitals and many look for other options.
For many families, even traveling to the hospital was too expensive. So, Bach would often personally take sick children to the pediatric hospital in town, known as Nalufenia, and cover the expenses. When she looked back at this experience in her blog, she said that even though she helped, she didn't think it was enough. These people needed a long-term solution. So, she wanted to be the one who can make that change. When she saw how big of an issue malnutrition was in the area, she thought this was why God sent her back to Uganda. So, she invested more and more in her program. Soon enough, word started to spread, and a lot of families came asking for help. A 12-year-old girl arrived with her baby sister. A nearby resident brought a baby she had discovered in an outdoor toilet. The mother, who was 15 years old, died from HIV and tuberculosis. This baby turned out to be Sela, whom Bach later adopted. Healthcare professionals across the area quickly realized that Bach had access to resources they didn't. Bach started receiving referrals from 27 districts, and people began to travel for 8 to 9 hours just to reach the center where she worked. In 2009, Renee started the Serving His Children, SHC. This nonprofit organization got a certificate to continue doing activities that would provide support to those in need and spread religious beliefs. Bach hired a Ugandan nurse called Constance Alanyo to look after the children.
Now, I find it very ironic that this woman would come from America to Uganda and would come to the Ugandan people to help, in her words, and yet she shows up much like the colonizers from previous years, from previous generations, I should say, and bringing her corrupt beliefs and her lies. Here just recently, writing this, of course, on the Indiana side, but in Louisville, they were passing around a advertisement for a play or some kind of a show where they were going to highlight the so-called white JC right here in Louisville, right in Louisville. In this we're right outside of that area, but they're still pushing these same lies that they've been pushing for all this time. And even though the truth is known and they can't deny the truth, but yet they'll still push the same old lies. That's the same thing that this woman was doing. She came with that same white savior rhetoric that white man JC somehow is going to come out the sky and save all of you poor blacks from yourselves because you should be saved too. We're all his children and you should be saved too. That's what this white savior complex is about. And that's what these people love to come with. So she showed up with the scriptures, which were written by people who today would be considered, some of them Ugandan. and yet, here she comes with him with her spin on with white JC at the helm. Skip all of this other stuff, and let's just go to what JC said. For God so loved the world, that includes you, Ugandans. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's in regards to the colonialism. These what do you call the people that go out and spread like the Christianity? Not evangelists, but
She said that he said it earlier in the video where they I forget that word too. He just said it though earlier.
yeah, but them as well as this lady are almost, to me they're worse than the military branches of these colonizers,
Right.
because they come saying one thing and they do the opposite, whereas with the military, our people were able to distinguish, like, you all are not for us,
Right.
but these people come under the guise of we're coming to help,
Right.
and it could be nothing further from the truth, man.
The most hurtful, the most harmful thing possible, because they're trying to control your
Missionaries.
mind. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said it earlier that she started a missionary. That's how she first ended up over there. Instead of her doing that, she should have been, if she wanted to help, if she really wanted to help, she should have been getting some medical understanding. She should have been doing some training, and you have to go to school to become a doctor for 7 years or 8 years or however long it takes. She could have just did some certifications and learned how to do some IV insertion properly. How in the world is she starting transfusions and all of these things with no training?
Right.
That means she learning on the job. But only in Uganda. Yeah, only in Uganda, because you do that. Try that in Indiana, or try that in Kentucky, or try that in Arkansas, or try that in anywhere, and see what happens. Yeah, the people get hurt or get injured, you're gonna be in for it. So
yeah. And the harm of the missionaries a lot of times it's a deeper wound. These people that were being taught by these missionaries, they believe that the image of the Messiah is this heathen.
Right, exactly.
And for you or I to go over there and try to tell them different,
right,
we would be viewed as an enemy, or they think something was wrong with us for us trying to tell them the truth.
1,000%, 1,000%, and that's the mind control that they use to sell our people a lie, and then when we come with the truth, they think it's something wrong with us. You don't you know that they was over here helping us? Like, no, they was over here destroying you.
Yeah.
We come to help. We come to show you the truth that's real, not what they was doing. So, continuing here.
As she raised more funds from the United States, she was able to bring more nurses, nutritionists, and eventually doctors. However, it took nearly 4 years for SHC to obtain a license as a health center. In the meantime, Renee herself was providing medical care to patients. While her motivations may seem honorable, the way she did it was just unacceptable. Treating malnourished children is not as easy as it looks. You can't just give the kids milk or meals. When the body is malnourished, it begins to consume itself to survive. Intracellular enzymes don't function as they should, and major organs start to fail.
Malnutrition is when an individual isn't getting enough nutrient. It can be one nutrient or a variety of nutrients in their diet or in other ways to maintain optimal body function, immune function, all of that, muscle mass. It usually can be caused from not taking in the right amount of nutrients through diet, but it can also be caused by diseases such as cancer that affect the digestive tract, so that even if you take in the right nutrients, your body isn't able to digest them. And unfortunately, the result of malnutrition, if it's not treated, can be very serious.
When the body starts receiving nutrients, there is a huge shift in electrolytes. This can lead to a potentially life-threatening condition called refeeding syndrome. This condition can happen when someone starts eating again too quickly after not getting enough nutrition for an extended period. The child can develop low levels of phosphates in the blood, along with change in fluids, which can eventually lead to other health problems. In properly equipped pediatric intensive care units, doctors can monitor the child's electrolyte balance and adjust the treatment as necessary. Bach, however, did not have access to that level of care, but neither did the hospitals that contacted Bach to save these children. Still, she took it upon herself to treat the patients. In July 2010, she posted on her blog that she was going to get 4 more children from a local hospital. She then urged her followers to pray for them and their recovery. She also asked for prayers for her well-being, since she stated that she was suffering mentally. Soon, Bach took on more responsibilities than she could handle. She was asking people around about how to do medical charts, and since a lot of people told her to buy a notebook and write it in, she did exactly that. Bach grew up learning that Christians are supposed to help those in need. With research and tenacity, people can achieve almost anything if they set their minds to it. Her mother used educational materials from a Christian homeschooling program to educate Bach and her siblings. Bach then used the same exact teachings in the SHC. When volunteers came to work at the SHC, they were met with the motto, "You don't have to be a licensed teacher to teach or be in the medical field to put on Band-Aids." In the summer of 2011, Jackie Kramlich, a certified nurse, volunteered at the center. She was one of the many American volunteers to come help. By this point, she said, Bach had already hired 3 Ugandan nurses. The nurses were there to help during the day. They were working in a room Bach called the clinic. The place was fully equipped with monitoring equipment, IV catheters, and oxygen tanks. And when Jackie joined, the center was already treating a dozen kids at a time. When Jackie tried to get involved, she quickly realized that these kids were not just malnourished. They were suffering from serious diseases. I'm talking about tuberculosis, intestinal parasites, pneumonia, and even stage 4 HIV. And almost every week, a child died. But what shocked Jackie the most was the fact that Bach was treating most of these children herself. Just take a look at this excerpt from Bach's blog.
That behavior is completely reckless. Completely and utterly reckless. The only way that she's able to do that and not be jailed is because she's a white woman in Uganda. Because that type of thing where you can't show up off the street and start doing these things, especially to children who are helpless, and you're administering medical procedures and not trained to do so. That behavior is reckless, completely. So, yeah, continue.
This is baby Warswa, one of the many severely ill patients. These were photos that a supporter of the charity took and then posted them online. Here, we can see Bach inserting an IV catheter into the baby's vein. But that was not all. Bach also tried to diagnose children and Google for solutions. Jackie witnessed it with another patient, the 9-month-old Patricia. In her blog, Bach described how she rushed Patricia and her parents into her center, which she called the clinic. She hooked the baby up to oxygen and started the treatment. She took the baby's temperature, inserted an IV, tested the baby for malaria, and examined her hemoglobin count and blood sugar levels. She blogged about how she guessed the baby's potential health problems, and then she decided that the baby needed a blood transfusion. Soon, Bach wrote "we" and didn't specify who that "we" was, and began the blood transfusion. However, roughly half an hour later, Patricia's condition deteriorated rapidly. Her face and neck began to swell, and she couldn't breathe. That's when Bach contacted Jackie and told her to come to the clinic. When Jackie arrived, she realized the blood transfusion was still in progress, and the baby was in bad shape. She was wheezing and swollen, and her throat was starting to clench. That's when Bach told Jackie that she thinks that the baby is having a reaction, but she has no idea what is happening because Google told her that if the child has a reaction, there would be a rash, and she didn't see a rash. Jackie was horrified. She said that in the United States and Uganda, only a medical expert is allowed to do invasive procedures, like a blood transfusion. And this is not a game. This is someone's life. It soon became obvious that Bach was making all the decisions. And in this particular patient, none of the nurses at the center were there to help. Bach decided to treat the child herself, but Bach denied it. She told the news that, yes, at times, she would perform medical procedures like inserting an IV or running the tubing into it and request of a medical expert. And when she was confronted about her blog, she said that she only wrote it to tell her story to her family and friends. Bach stated that it was a mistake, that she wrote these blogs in the first person, and she wished she hadn't done that.
Come on, man. I mean, that's crazy. That's you know, the level of what's the word I'm looking for? You know how you can just try to excuse yourself out of a situation, and in certain situations that's acceptable. Like if you bump into somebody and you say, "Oh, my bad, excuse me," that's reasonable behavior. But when you do some reckless, straight up reckless stuff that endanger the lives of people, that's not an excuse me situation. That's not something you can just brush off and say, "Oh, my bad," or I didn't mean to harm you there. Yeah, sorry, I was cutting on you, but I didn't want to hurt you. Or sorry, I was trying to do a medical procedure without any kind of medical training. I didn't mean to harm you. I didn't mean to hurt you. No, that's not an excuse me situation. Excuse me would be if you burp accidentally in someone's direction. That's an excuse me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Not, I gave you what I thought would be the best thing for you, but it was wrong. So, excuse me. I mean, that's sickening and reckless. But let's continue.
She looked back at it. She said these blogs made her sound very proud and claimed she did all those things by herself. This, in fact, wasn't the case, and there were skilled medical practitioners by her side. When she treated Patricia, Bach said she remembered one of the nurses at the center did the transfusion. When the baby's health started deteriorating, the nurse phoned a private doctor who told her to take the child to a hospital. But there is one thing that Jackie and Bach agree on. It was Bach who took Patricia to the hospital, and the baby survived. But Jackie said this case was too close for comfort. She was angry. Soon after the incident, Jackie quit. Although she initially planned to stay a year, she stayed there for a few months. When she returned home, Jackie wrote a letter of concern to the charity's board of directors in the United States. From 2010 to 2015, Bach took in more than 940 children who were severely malnourished, and 119 of these children died. According to Saul Guerrero, a senior advisor in malnutrition at UNICEF, the death toll at Bach's center was outrageous. In 2011, Bach took in 129 children under her care, but 20% of them died. Almost a third of these children passed away in the first 48 hours. In 2012, the death rate was 18%. In 2013, Bach hired 2 doctors, and the death rate was reduced to 10%. But, according to Guerrero, even these figures are still very high. They surpass the benchmarks set by international humanitarian organizations and an official government facility in Africa, especially one that caters to very vulnerable patients. The death rate is 20%. Bach's facility is a center, not a hospital. When journalists interviewed one of the locals who had her child treated at Bach's facility, she said she had been questioned before about Bach, and I quote, "They asked me if I knew the white lady, Bach. I said yes. They said she had treated so many children who had died, and that mine was among the few lucky ones who survived, probably by God's mercy." But opinions about Bach are mixed. Patricia's parents are defending Bach. They said that when no one came to help, she was there, and it is thanks to her that their daughter is alive. They added that when Patricia received medical treatment, Bach would stand aside and observe. Soon, Bach was facing a lawsuit. She was accused of treating hundreds of children who died under her care.
Now, it's ironic that the parents of Patricia basically were defending her and keeping in that, backing her story in that situation. Now, thankfully, Patricia did make it through. She was taken to the hospital where she actually received some medical assistance, and they were able to get her stable, and she was able to live. So I'm pretty sure that was the reason why, though she was experimenting on this child,
Right.
because she did live, and yes, she did take her to the hospital. as the nurse that she hired. That she had to come and volunteer. What did she call her name? That she quit. The other white lady. And she wrote a letter of concern. I forgot her name. Not important, but yeah, she quit. She was like, "Man, y'all, you about to get yourself in some stuff. I'm out of here. I'm not touching my name to this."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she went on about it, which is what a normal person would do. If Ozaki Yagu showed up and saw some crazy stuff going on, guess what? I got to get up out of here. Y'all crazy. I'm not putting my name on this thing and dragging my name through the mud like this. So it's not surprising. I'm saying it's not surprising that they're backing her because their daughter lived. Their child lived. These women these 119 children that died, I'm pretty sure they have a whole different story because their children did not live. So let's continue. You got something, Mark?
No, I was just thinking, this child lived because she was no longer in the care of this evil ass woman.
Yeah.
Excuse my French, but
no, it is. It's upsetting. It's really upsetting to watch this and to see how things have played out in this situation, and to think that this woman is getting some kind of a documentary. You know what I'm saying? Like she was, like, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Continue here.
In 2019, the Women's Pro Bono Initiative filed a lawsuit against Renee on behalf of two mothers who allegedly lost their children at this facility. These are Zubeida Gembo from Namutumba District and Annette Kakai from Bukway District. Mr. Charles Olwene, a former SHC employee, played a crucial role in providing evidence to the Jinja High Court. He started working as a gatekeeper in August 2009 and was later promoted to the position of driver in 2014. While he was working there for 8 years, he transported about 5 to 7 bodies a day on average. That's the equivalent of 2,555 every year, or 20,440 bodies in the course of 8 years. The two mothers who filed the suit stated that they were one of the many mothers who lost their children at Bach's facility. This was an illegal facility that put all of their patients' lives in danger. These mothers urged the court to ban the charity from Uganda and sought compensation for damages. When Bach's
an illegal facility that put all of these lives in danger. That's what the lawsuit said. That went against this thing. Continue.
Lawyers submitted their defense. Bach denied all charges. She labeled them as preposterous. But once the story hit the news, Bach found herself in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. People started accusing her of doing medical experiments on children, and soon to be part of the KKK. She was accused of falsely presenting herself as a doctor when she was not. She wore a stethoscope and
That's what a medical professional does. What she's doing right there, that picture right there, indicates that she is a medical professional. Mm-hmm. So anybody that sees this, normal people don't have stethoscopes. They don't use stethoscopes. That's not a knife or a fork that a normal person would use. A stethoscope is for a medical professional. So that is not, so to say that she didn't present herself as such, that is incorrect because only medical professionals deal with those type of instruments. All right, let's continue.
Guard, so that she would look like one. Since then, Bach has become the face of white saviorism in Africa, but she has never faced any criminal charges in the US. Those who criticized Bach said that she was luring families who were desperate for help. She convinced them to choose SHC. They said she posed as a licensed medical professional. Abner Tagula, the head of the pediatric hospital in the nearby town of Nalufenya, disputed these accusations. The two worked together for some time. He believed Bach was driven by desperation to help the sick infants who came to SHC. After the lawsuit against Bach was filed, the Uganda Medical and Dental Practitioners Council carried out its own independent investigation. Experts found that they couldn't support the allegations that patients died in such large numbers because of the SHC. SHC and Bach's attorney, David Gibbs, have strongly supported Bach's efforts. In a statement from 2019, SHC denied that Bach portrayed herself as a doctor. They did say she often helped in urgent situations, but she used skills that she learned from Ugandan medical experts. Also, both parties, the two mothers and Bach, have decided not to pursue legal action against each other.
Now, it's ironic that the foundation that she founded, as well as those that gave her the ability to go out and into Uganda and do what they're doing, are backing her. That's ironic, because their neck is on the line as much as she is, as much as hers is. So, yeah, of course they're gonna say, no, she didn't do that. Like they were standing there with her, watching it. No, they weren't. They're trying to cover their own behinds. That's what they're doing, and that's what she's doing. Instead of owning up to what she did and realizing that 119 Ugandan children died in her care, and she's gonna have to make an atonement for that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna just get off, because despite what happens in this situation and how you try to finagle your way through these circumstances, the Most High sees what you're doing. He knows what you did. He knows what you was thinking, and you're gonna be accountable.
Indeed.
Continue.
They completely let go of any potential claims. Gimbo said in a statement for The Guardian that she felt a sense of justice. Kakai said that this entire process took a toll on her, but now she feels this great sense of relief. She said that even though the verdict would never bring her child back, she wanted the world to know exactly what happened here. She believes that this way, she helped the families who couldn't speak out for themselves. Elizabeth Achola, a legal representative of the Women's Pro Bono Initiative, stated she was satisfied that both parties settled their dispute in a friendly manner. She believes that if the case lasted longer, it would have prolonged the pain and emotional distress for the two mothers. Achola hopes that the settlement can give these women some sort of closure so they can move on.
The settlement, which means what? They threw money at the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Take this money and let's just forget about it. Now, when you in Uganda dirt poor and they give you more money than you ever seen before, which is probably equivalent to next to nothing in reality, especially to the loss of your child that didn't have to be lost because of the experimenting that this heathen woman was doing. Yeah, okay, it may sound like something that, it may sound like a win, but this is evil. This is purely evil. And they gone about it, the way they've gone about it is purely evil.
And I can't think of any monetary value that would be equivalent to my child's life.
None.
No.
You can't. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, truthfully. But no, there is none. There is absolutely none. I would I don't know. I don't know how any parent can be satisfied with money when that child was, life was lost. Your legacy is done. Man, continue.
In 2019, Bach stepped down from her role as the SHC program director. She announced that the organization was being dissolved. Since then, a ton of media outlets covered the story. Soon, Bach got her own HBO documentary called Savior Complex, but it has come to light that 4 more families are contemplating taking legal action against Bach for the same reason. The Kampala-based advocacy group, No White Saviors, stated that they've collected $16,000 to cover legal fees for these families. Okay, now hear me out on this one. No White Saviors was founded by 2 people, Olivia Patience Alasso, a Ugandan social worker, and Kelsey Nielsen, a white American social worker. Their goal was simple: find and call out any cases of white savior complex and decolonize development. The group started criticizing Bach on social media in 2018. The Guardian recognized their efforts because they helped draw attention to Renee's story, but in 2022, Nielsen resigned. She was accused of using her white privilege in a way that marginalized the Black members of the organization. A staff member at the time, Ruothomio Kabandel, shared with The Guardian that Nielsen portrayed herself as the most radical advocate for Black liberation.
Yeah, I mean, how the heck you gonna have an organization called No White Savior, founded by a doggone white lady.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's insane.
Um,
That
yeah.
is literally the definition of what you're supposed to be representing. Yeah, we're gonna do it. That's like, and how crazy you got to be a so-called white woman and want to be a part of something that speaks against you. And these people are unreal. Let's continue.
Within the organization, Nielsen acknowledged in a public statement that she had struggled to recognize her own actions as stemming from her white privilege. She admitted she was extremely hypocritical in the way she acted. After Nielsen left, the organization went through a complete overhaul. They now have Black African leaders. Here's what they posted on X on September 15, 2023. They said that initially, they believed the documentary would point out their organization's efforts and what they did for the Ugandan community. However, they were seriously disappointed when the trailer suggested that the series would mainly focus on empathizing with the emotional distress of white women. They said they had their own story to tell, and they will use an African media company to do it. So, will Bach be facing more lawsuits and end up?
Yeah, surprise. Instead of them covering the wickedness of this devil and all of these deception that she did to these people, destroying these children, and pretending like she was helping, when in actuality she was being reckless and not being held accountable. Instead of it highlighting that, it's instead highlighting how she felt being someone that these Black people looked up to help save them, and I was obligated to try to help as much as I could, and I just wanted to help, and it was hurtful because children were dying, and I didn't want them to die. That mess up out of here.
Up in jail? We don't know. What we do know is that Renee came back to Virginia, and she's not in jail. She's now living with her 2 children. The civil suit filed against her was settled. But when it ended, so did her missionary quest in Africa. Many actions taken by enraged parents pushed Renee even further into the limelight, making her one of the most hated women in Jinja. Well, Renee's story is a clear reminder that every action we take will have consequences. Even if we want to help, we must know what we are doing. And by playing God, Renee blurred the lines between unintentional harm and genuine help. Her actions caused a lot of controversy. The truth is, Uganda may not be a rich country, but they do have healthcare experts, skilled professionals who are trained to save lives. They are the ones who should be trusted to provide medical care, not someone who Googles their way through every problem and tries to help. I think the best way to help these communities would be to offer assistance within Uganda's healthcare facilities or provide funds directly to impoverished families so that they can afford to go to these treatment centers. Let me know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, absolute madness,
Yeah.
and all of the dealings with this particular heathen woman, and it's definitely hurtful in what she was doing, and reckless. I can't say reckless enough in that situation. But like I said, they think that they can just do what they want to do and get away with it because things are in their favor because it's the time of the Gentile. So the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Well, guess what? That time is rapidly approaching, and judgment is coming after that. And the judge that's coming, he's not going to hear your lies and think that and take it into consideration. He's going to drench his garment in your blood, and that's what you got to look forward to, Renee. You doggone devil, heathen, stealing and destroying our children, and the children of even the children of Ham. You're gonna be judged for that. And despite your lies and innuendos and you wanted to help and all this other foolishness, your reckless actions say otherwise. If you really wanted to help, you would have orchestrated getting people from Uganda into some medical training to help to increase the number of medical professionals that could actually help.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not just trying to get yourself in the light and making blogs about what we doing, what you doing, because you wanted to feel good about yourself. So you're gonna go and help the poor blacks. You doggone devil. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Hmm. And not only her, not only
Yeah.
her,
All of them.
the church that sent her over there to missionary, to do the missionary work, they
Right.
are liable for this as well. Those medical professionals that she hired that knew something was fishy, that did nothing.
Hmm.
These children's blood is on your hands as well. You're
Hmm.
not innocent in this.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. You knew that this was folly from the beginning.
Hmm.
And instead of you dealing with it and it is sad because the one that did the right thing was the white woman that showed up and said, "Y'all crazy," and I'm up out of here. I was gonna stay for a year. I'm staying for a few months. I'm gone because you're not gonna have my hands tied to this mess. She was the one and only one. But yeah, this is hurtful. This is hurtful, and it's highly upsetting to think 119 children passed away in the care of this particular place. And then she got the audacity to backpedal from it, to
Right.
say, it wasn't that, or excuse me, or I'm sorry, or something so simple, so trivial, and it's completely another utterly harmful.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that being shared, we're going to go ahead and close out on this particular video. We got a couple other videos coming for you today. A lot of news happening, and we got to get some information covered for the help of the people. Anybody who watches this channel, uh, always check the description box. I put the videos that we review. I put those into the description so that you can see exactly what's going on. You can go back and review and even dig into more information. You may find something that I didn't cover or that we didn't go over. Uh, but we do this for the edification of our people and for to push the knowledge of what's going on here today. So let's close out with the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter number 12 and verse number 13. I almost feel like crying, honestly. I mean, that's how heartbreaking that 119 children. I mean, children suffering in the worst possible situation. All those children should have been in the hospital.
Hmm.
None of them should have been fooling with this heathen devil. But the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter number 12 and verse number 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And for anybody who will get offended at the word devil that I use, devil means deceiver. And this woman deceived these people into believing that she was a medical professional and she was not. So she is the equivalent, she is the unequivocal, uh, she's exactly a devil because she deceived those people into giving their children into her care.
Hmm.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter number 12 and verse number 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. It is imperative, so very important that we understand that in the conclusion of the whole matter, we ought to fear the Most High and keep his commandments. Why? Because this is the whole reason that we are here. I am your Akazaki Yahu, joined by my most esteemed Akinanaya, giving all praise, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah Bahashem, Yahushua HaMashiach, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say Shalom Wabaruki, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait till the day that the Most High brings us back together, and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation under the Most High Power, under one covenant. Until that day, Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat shalom, Mr. Pakai.
Praises to the Father.